let everybody have the freedom of marriage, be able to marry who you want and be able to be with who you want and not be bashed in public because of your way of life. And so I recently saw pictures of the LGBT had a little get together in New York trying to get the message across that they want equality for lesbian gay rights. And this really made me think, just like, wow, I saw so many signs that said like things like gay people shouldn't get married, man was made to be with woman, and woman was made to be with man, and like the Bible says Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and just horrible things like that. Like bringing the Bible into this. The Bible does not criticize. The Bible, Christianity is a loving thing. God is a loving person, and he loves all his children. So how are you just gonna X out somebody saying, oh, well, God doesn't like? You can't say who God doesn't like because you are not God. And you know what? You just leave that alone and let people be who they want to be. And so I think that it's really heartbreaking how so many people can be so ignorant just because of something they don't know. And it's also reminded me of the American Civil Rights Movement. Like, I see so many similarities to the LGBT movement, to the Civil Rights Movement. So many people say black people are supposed to be enslaved and gay people are supposed to be burned. Like, so many people are so quick to say we've overcome that time of ignorance in American history when we haven't. It's coming right back. We had that span. I mean, ignorance is never going away, apparently, even though Martin Luther King did not die for this. He died for rights, human rights. And gay marriage should be a human right. I mean, marry who you want to. If you feel the need to marry a woman, you should be able to go to a courthouse and say, I want to marry Judy, and Judy wants to marry Sarah, and they should get married. Just like if Sarah wanted to marry Adam and Adam wanted to marry Sarah, they could get married. But see, Sarah can't marry Emily. And why can't Sarah marry Emily? Because they're two women. What is the big difference? They're still two humans. They're still two members of society. So what's so wrong with being a member of society? What's so wrong with being in love with who you want to be in love with? Some people just don't fit the average criteria, and oh what? Everybody's different. Everybody's special in their own way. And so I don't think that they should be X'd out or just pushed away like African Americans were during the Civil Rights Movement. Because think of how you would feel if you wanted to marry the same gender as you, and you couldn't. That's how black people felt when they wanted to marry white people back in the American Civil Rights Movement. They couldn't.
You know, I think there's an interesting item here that we'd like to sort of bring in, because I think you've mentioned the Stonewall riots, and you've also made some kind of comparison to the same riots in California at the time,
the
LA riots at the same time, and I think that most people don't understand. Well, why don't you talk about that? Because
earlier I was thinking about it, and not that I'm really comparing the LA riots to the Stonewall riots, but they were both triggered by an event that shook up a community. The Rodney King beating shook up the African American community. The LA riots. Police raids shook up the gay community. Stonewall riots. It's ignorance shaking up people, making them do irrational things. Ignorance is the main component in this. What if Rodney King was never severely beaten? I'm not gonna say that there weren't that there wouldn't have been the LA riots, but Rodney King's beating inspired the LA riots. So there might not have been LA riots. That's just like me trying to say if Adolf Hitler was never born, there wouldn't have been a Holocaust. There could have been somebody other than Hitler who could have inspired a thing like the Holocaust. We'll never know. But still, if the police had never started to raid Stonewall and raid it, we might not have had the Stonewall riots. But then, without the Stonewall riots, we wouldn't have had that catalyst to push off the LGBT movement in America. But see, even without it, gay people probably would not have still been able to get married to this day, because as I was saying, this has been people haven't accepted this even before the 18th century. And so you really got to think about it. It's almost like, I mean, you aren't any better than a person because of beliefs. Like, that's like me going down the street and saying, hey, I'm better than you because I'm a Methodist and you're a Catholic. So, I mean, that's your way of life and my way of life. Everybody should be able to express themselves as they wish to express themselves. And the LGBT movement is similar to bullying. I mean, you are scared to be yourself and to come out and be your true self because of how society is going to look at you. I used to be scared to do so-and-so. I'd be scared to speak out in class or have elaborate answers to questions because I'd see my classmates just glare at me and say, wow, she's so-and-so and so-and-so. But then I overcame that. I'm proud of who I am. And I will stand up in class and I will say what I want to and I will have the most elaborate answer you might ever hear. Okay, because I'm true to myself.
And Alana, I think, and while you're dealing with all of these elaborate answers that you're giving us now, and we certainly appreciate that. What we're going to do, we're going to take this second commercial break, and then when we come back, I want you to get into other aspects of this movement and the impact that it is having. And we appreciate the information that we're receiving, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Alana McLaughlin, and she's given us some information in reference to the Stonewall riots and some of the things that happened in reference to the LBGT movement in reference to this riot, as well as the so-called LA riots that occurred at approximately the same time. And I think it's your contention that the Stonewall riots were much larger than the Los Angeles riots. Explain that to us.
Well, the Stonewall riots, and I don't know if it's for a proven fact, and the LA riots, they did happen at different times and for different reasons. But as I mentioned in the second segment, ignorance was still the main component of both of these. So LA riots, Rodney King was beaten. It shook up the black community. Boom. There you go, LA riots. But then police start raiding gay clubs. Shakes up the gay community. Boom, Stonewall riots. All because of people's ignorance. Why we have regular bars? What's so different between a gay bar? Just for different types of people. Oh well. And so basically police in Greenwich Village were so ignorant to just try and raid it and scare them that started the Stonewall riots. And that's the same as what I just said about the LA riots. And now I was also saying in the second segment, I had commentary. I was saying that the LGBT movement, it's growing by the day, and it's getting stronger, and more people are starting to listen. And it's almost a form of bullying. I mean, because you're scaring lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people into hiding their true selves because of your ignorance and how you will try to treat them in society. I've seen stories of people who had to pretend that they weren't gay or LGBT because they wanted to get jobs or they wanted to go somewhere. And that's not a world that we should live in. We should live in a world where you're proud to be yourself. And right now, I was just thinking about the movie Imitation of Life. Now, the main character, she did not want to be black, and so she pretended that she was white because she had light skin, and she wanted to do that because she lived in a world where being black, and she lived in a community where being black wasn't accepted, and she didn't want to be associated with black people because of the stereotypes that black people have, that we all eat fried chicken and we all love Kool-Aid and that we're all so ignorant and have nappy hair. And That's not black people at all. We're a strong foundation. We're just like any other race. Ghetto should not be a synonym for black. The word ghetto should not exist. Ghetto is just another word that you use to break people. Ghetto is just a discriminative word, and it's not something that should be in our everyday vocabulary. I shouldn't go to school and hear, you're so ghetto, and you live in the projects, and you use food stamps. You shouldn't make fun of other people's lives because, oh well, if that's the way that they live, then let them live that way. And so basically, the LGBT movement, it's scaring people. It's just like the American Civil Rights Movement. Like, people are boycotting gay marriage, and people are still just so mean and won't let people live the way they want to live. So what if Sarah and Emily want to get married? Let Sarah and Emily get married. It's just the equivalent as James and Emily getting married. Oh well, James and Emily got married. Let them get married. So just chill out. Let people live the way they want to live. I mean, what's so wrong with loving who you want to love? I mean, because you shouldn't be scared of who you are. Like back in the American Civil Rights Movement, you shouldn't be scared to be black. You shouldn't be scared to go to this cafe and this place, all because of the color of your skin. Nowadays, you shouldn't be scared to go somewhere, to do something, to apply for a job or to go somewhere because of your sexuality. That's just like being scared to do something because you're a woman, being scared to enroll for the army because you're a woman. And Rosie the Riveter, like back during the World Wars, Rosie the Riveter was a big part of that because when men went off to go to war, women had to take over the men's jobs that they abandoned. And so, people were like, oh, women can't do this and women can't do that. And so Rosie the Riveter posters popped up everywhere, and she inspired women to do what they wanted to do, because you shouldn't be scared to do something or discouraged to do something because of, back then, if you're a female or a man. And so then after that, we had the American Civil Rights Movement. You shouldn't be scared to do something because of your race. And now we have the LGBT movement, and now you're scared to do something because of your sexuality.
And so you're saying, in total, Alana, that there is what we call civil rights, and that these civil rights, whether we're talking about the LGBT community or whether we're talking about African Americans or whatever group, people ought to be able to enjoy their
lives
and
have their civil rights, their human rights, the right to get married, the right to live a beautiful life without being discouraged because of your sexuality. And so basically, I'm going to say that I think this should be taught in schools more, just like history, because I did not hear about Stonewall in school. I've never learned about Stonewall. I had to look on my computer. I had to hear about it from a girl who had a book about it, and I had to hear about it, and I'm just like, this is a part of history. This is still impacting modern day society. Why don't we learn about this? Because schools are scared to learn about it, because I know that teachers aren't supposed to discuss their sexuality or their religion and all because of the way that kids will react to it. But I think that everybody should have the right to be themselves. You shouldn't be scared of who you are.
And so, Alana, you've taken this whole idea of individual liberties and constitutional rights, and you are in reality saying that if you can support one right, then
you can't support you can't march on the March on Washington, then boycott gay marriage, because those two are more alike than you think. They're just impacting more people. One isn't impacting more people. And so the American Civil Rights, they had more people. They had black people, the whole black community. This has the whole gay community. Just think about it. They're still people. We are all people, and you can't X us out because of you think we're not the equivalent of you and you think you're better than us, because we are all humans and we need to stand together and fight for each other, because in the end, all we have left is each other. As humans, as neighbors and friends, we have each other, and that's what we need to make a change.
Alana, let me sort of bring this to some conclusion here to tell you that I had my misgivings in reference to bringing this information forward, and especially bringing this information to have you to succumb in a real sense to your desire to talk about this as a topic, you see. But I think nevertheless it did serve as an opportunity to hear not only your expression in reference to this, but to understand that even children your age, because in many instances you're talking about something that many people don't regard as a child's topic, but since and what I think that you're demonstrating is that there is an awareness not only among elderlies and young people, but there's also an awareness among people in your age level and et cetera, even though they seldom express that. And I want to thank you for bringing that information out to us today, because coming from an 11-year-old person, I think it has a different impact than it does coming from anybody else. And so I want you to know that I had many misgivings in reference to this and the impact that it might have and et cetera. But nevertheless, I thought that it was important since, and since it appeared that this was the only topic that you were willing to deal with today, that we could, in a real sense, deal with this. And I want to thank you for bringing the information, and I want to encourage myself to be able to understand